Hi everyone, this is the second video in a series that will cover all of the concepts you need to know for your IB Business Management final exam. This video covers all of the key concepts for Unit 2, Human Resource Management. At the end of this video, we will share with you the next steps you can take depending on your familiarity with this content. First up, we have Unit 2.1, which focuses on the role of the HR department. The HR department focuses on a few areas, such as training, which relates to skill development for employees, recruitment, hiring the right people for the right roles, and employee relations, which is how employees get along with senior management. HR also focuses on forecasting future staffing needs, which are impacted by numerous internal and external factors. This includes demographic factors, such as the composition of the population in terms of age or gender, immigration, whether people are allowed to move for work, labor mobility, whether people want to switch jobs, flexi-time, which is giving employees a variable work schedule, and the gig economy, which is part-time contracting, commonly seen in companies such as Uber or food delivery apps. The second part of this topic focuses on managing how employees react to change. Now, employees can disapprove of business changes for numerous reasons, including self-interest, which relates to being more worried about themselves than the firm, low tolerance, which means they fear or dislike change, misinformation, which means they don't understand the reason for the change, or interpretation of circumstances, which is that they don't agree with the reasons for the change. When these events occur, a business needs to take actions to respond to the dissatisfaction of employees in order to prevent them from having longer-term impacts on employee motivation. In your exam, remember that it is key to first diagnose why employees are unhappy about a change before suggesting actions that a business could take to resolve this issue. Unit 2.2 focuses on organizational structures, and there are a few key terminologies that you need to know when describing these structures. The first is layers of hierarchy, which relate to how many levels of formal authority there are in a business. You can classify this as many or few. The span of control is about how many employees each manager is responsible for. And this is described as wide if a manager is responsible for many employees, or narrow if they just have a few. Finally, the chain of command is how decisions get communicated from management to junior employees. This can be long if there are many levels of hierarchy, or short if there are few levels of hierarchy. And there are two types of organizational structures that you need to know. And they are flat or horizontal structures, as well as tall or vertical structures. In flat organizational structures, there are few layers of hierarchy, resulting in a wider span of control as there are fewer managers, who as a result are each responsible for more junior employees. This is beneficial as it can give these employees more autonomy over their work. However, at the same time, it may make it more difficult for managers to supervise their many employees. With fewer layers of hierarchy, there is also a shorter chain of command, meaning instructions from senior management can be communicated more quickly and efficiently. In terms of tall structures, the exact opposite is true. These firms tend to have a narrow span of control, many levels of hierarchy, and a longer chain of command. This can lead to increased promotion opportunities for junior employees, but these organizations, often due to their large size, take longer to respond to internal or external changes. Other structures that you should also be familiar with are organizations by geography, which is where a business structures itself by geographic location, such as splitting up between Americas, Europe and Middle East, and Asia Pacific. Organization by product, which structures the business around different goods and services sold. You might think of Disney's hotel divisions, theme parks, and content and streaming as an example here. Finally, the most common is organization by function. This involves structuring a business by the key business functions: marketing, HR, finance, and operations. The second part of this topic is an HL-only topic, so SL students feel free to skip straight to Unit 2.3. Organizations sometimes employ a project-based organizational structure, which structures the firm around various projects that the business views as important. This can help leverage the skill sets of employees from different divisions in the firm for the firm's benefit, but it can also lead to additional workloads and competing priorities for employees. The other structure is Handy Shamrock, which groups organizations into 1, the professional core, who are key employees. They are supported by 2 outsourced vendors and 3 part-time workers. This allows for cost savings by outsourcing non-essential business activities, but also leads to potential demotivation and job insecurity for those who are not designated as key employees. Unit 2.3 is focused on management and leadership. Managers focus on helping the firm achieve objectives and improve processes, with a focus on the present. Leaders, on the other hand, focus on influencing and motivating others to achieve shared goals. Remember that businesses need both managers and leaders to succeed, and that one is not always better than the other. Each leader has their own way of leading employees, which can be grouped into one of 5 leadership styles. The first is autocratic leadership, where the leader makes all of the decisions themselves. This is effective in crisis situations and can give employees a clear sense of direction, but generally adversely impacts employee motivation as they're not consulted in decision making. The second is paternalistic leadership, where leaders take decisions in what they perceive to be the best interest of employees. Here, employees are welcome to provide feedback and often develop loyalty to the leader, as the leader aims to look out for their interests. However, remember here that leaders don't always know what's best for their employees and still take decisions based primarily on their own perceptions. The third is democratic leadership, where leaders consider the views of others before coming to a decision. Now, this encourages employee input, contributing to a collaborative environment, but also leads to slower decision-making and potentially more conflicts in the workplace. The fourth is laissez-faire leadership, which is the opposite of autocratic leadership. Here, employees are given a high degree of autonomy in decision-making. This can help employees develop key leadership skills, but also makes it difficult for the leader to monitor their employees, particularly when they don't have the right skills or experience. Finally, situational leadership refers to leaders who adapt their style based on the situation. In the real world, almost all leaders are situational leaders, and let the context of the decision influence how they react. The second part of 2.3 is an HL-only topic. SL students feel free to skip straight to Unit 2.4. Leaders can also make decisions in 2 ways, scientifically or intuitively. Scientific thinking in management focuses on making decisions based on facts or hard evidence. Intuitive thinking in management is about making decisions based on gut feel. For example, when choosing which TV show or movie to watch on Netflix, you might use scientific decision by looking at ratings and reviews, as well as intuitive decision making by watching the trailer to get an initial reaction as to whether you would like the show. Unit 2.4 is one of the most content-heavy topics in the course, and it is all about motivation and demotivation. First, we'll go through the motivation theories. Taylor's scientific management theory is focused around the idea that workers are primarily motivated by money. Therefore, if workers become more efficient, the business can produce and sell more, earning more profit, and therefore they can pay workers more. This is particularly applicable to those who work in factories or on an assembly line. The second theory is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which focuses on the various motivations for human behavior. These include physiological needs, which are things that are necessary for survival, safety needs, which relate to things like job security, love and belonging needs, which relate to good relationships with colleagues or your boss, esteem needs, which relate to things like promotion or recognition for your hard work, and self-actualization, which relates to working on new challenges and developing new skills. The final theory for SL students is Herzberg's 2-factor theory, or motivation hygiene theory. And here we look at factors that could prevent and lead to motivation. If hygiene factors such as safe and fair working conditions are absent in the business context, employees would become demotivated. At the same time, organizations could also introduce motivators such as promotions and recognition to help improve employee motivation. Questions on this topic can be general, where it allows you to pick your own theory to respond to the question, or specific, and they force you to use a specific theory. So make sure you are familiar with applying all of the different motivation theories to different case study contexts. To keep employees motivated, firms have to offer financial and non-financial compensation. Salaries are the base payment made to employees, which tend to be a fixed amount paid monthly. Now, this is guaranteed for employees and tends to increase with experience, but is generally not sufficient on its own to fully compensate employees. In addition to salaries, fringe benefits or perks are also offered, which are additional rewards such as insurance or housing allowances. This can help employees cover their essential needs, but represent large expenses for the business. Businesses can also choose to make their base payment in wages, which pay employees based on time worked, which is called time rate wages, or based on output, how much they produce. which is called piece rate wages. This can help align incentives between employees and the firm, as workers are paid based on results or how much they work, but can also lead to quality control issues if the workers focus on output rather than quality. Businesses can also provide bonuses to their employees through performance-related or profit-related pay. Performance-related pay is for an individual employee who is rewarded for meeting or exceeding targets, while profit-related pay is a bonus payment made when the firm performs well overall. This can help motivate employees and encourages teamwork to meet firm goals, but it can be difficult to fairly assess and compensate individual members for their contributions, particularly in a team setting. Sales-heavy industries often use commissions, which is where workers are paid a percentage of the sales value that they are responsible for. This can help incentivize workers to sell more, but also encourages internal competition within the firm. Finally, employees can provide share ownership schemes, or ESOS, which provides employees shares in the firm that they work for. This helps align incentives between employees and the firm, but can also lead to share dilution. In terms of non-financial rewards, there are 6 that you need to know. The first is job enrichment, which involves increasing the quantity of tasks and the difficulty of tasks. Another is job enlargement, which involves increasing the quantity but not difficulty of the tasks. To understand the difference between the two, imagine a math A&A teacher at your school. In one situation, they're promoted to department head, which leads to an increased quantity of tasks and difficulty. In another situation, they're given an additional math A&A class to teach. This is job enlargement, as the amount of tasks they have to do has increased, but the difficulty has not changed. The next is job rotation, which involves moving employees across different tasks of a similar difficulty in order to aid skill development. For example, a college graduate might be rotated across the marketing, finance, and operations departments of their new job. The fourth is job empowerment, which enables employees to make their own decisions, showing the firm trusts them to make the right decisions for the business. The fifth is purpose, which centers around the opportunity to make a difference, which is a common source of motivation for employees working at NGOs or charities. Finally, teamwork can help improve relationships at work, fostering a sense of belonging among employees in the workplace. Another thing that can help with employee motivation is training, which provides employees with a chance to learn skills relevant to their job. On-the-job training is done within the workplace. This is relatively cheap and relevant to the specific day-to-day needs of the employee. Off-the-job training happens outside the workplace and is conducted by third-party specialists. This allows employees to develop a wide range of skills. For example, your school might have professional development days, which is an example of on-the-job training, while some of your teachers may be sent to IB workshops, which is an example of off-the-job training. The rest of this topic is HL only, so SL students feel free to skip straight to 2.6. There are 4 extra motivation theories for HL students. The first is McClellan's acquired needs theory, which focuses on the 3 potential drivers of an individual. The first is the need for achievement, which is for those who strive for excellence and aim for a sense of accomplishment. They prefer independence over teamwork. The second is a need for power, which is about wanting status and responsibility. Finally, the need for affiliation is about having harmonious relationships with colleagues. The next motivation theory is Deci and Ryan's self-determination theory, which believes that people are intrinsically motivated and have a tendency to grow. In order to facilitate this growth, they require autonomy, or in other words, having control over how they approach a situation, relatedness, feeling a sense of belonging, and competence, which means they feel proficient and accomplished in completing their tasks. The third one is Adams' equity theory, which states that employees will feel motivated when their inputs, which are time, effort, or anything else given to the firm, are roughly equal or less than their outputs, which are pay, benefits, praise, or anything else received from the company. If their inputs are greater than their outputs, employees will be demotivated. Finally, Vroom's expectancy theory focuses on the idea that employees will only be motivated if they feel they can accomplish their task, if they know what they want from their outcome. Now here, most students find Adams' equity theory and Maslow's theory that we learned about earlier in this video to be the easiest to apply in an exam, with many finding Vroom's theory to be the most difficult. If employees aren't motivated, they will leave the firm. We can measure the percentage of employees leaving the firm in a year through examining something called labor turnover. Employees can leave the firm for internal reasons, such as poor relationships or a lack of training, as well as external reasons, which include new opportunities, better pay, or promotions elsewhere. This can lead to consequences for a business, including the time and cost to recruit and train new talent. Remember that labor turnover isn't always a bad thing, as replacing unhappy staff with new motivated employees can actually benefit the business. This is an AO4 topic, which means you can also be asked to calculate the labor turnover of a firm if you're given some information in the case. If an employee leaves, a business needs to recruit a replacement, and they can do this via internal or external recruitment. Internal recruitment involves hiring people who currently work for the business to fill roles, typically like promoting someone. This is lower risk and has a lower cost, as the business is already familiar with the employee and can provide opportunities for promotion. However, this limits the potential pool of candidates to select from and can create competition in the workplace. External recruitment refers to the practice of hiring people who don't currently work for the business. You can reverse the advantages and the disadvantages of the two here, with external recruitment allowing for a wider range of candidates, but being higher risk due to the firm's unfamiliarity with the employee. Business also needs to evaluate its employees, and they do so through appraisals, which are assessments of the employee's performance. You need to know 4 types of appraisals. The first is formative appraisals, which are regular, informal evaluations to help an employee improve in their job performance. This is comparable to a formative assessment that you might do at school. A summative appraisal is a formal appraisal that occurs periodically, such as every year, where employees are evaluated against certain standards. This is comparable to a unit test or a summative assessment at your school. 360-degree feedback involves gathering comments from various groups of people that the employee works with. This includes both above them, such as their bosses, at the same level as them in the hierarchy, such as their colleagues, and below them, like subordinates. Finally, self-appraisal involves employees evaluating themselves against preset criteria to identify their own strengths and areas of weakness. Unit 2.5 for HL students only focuses on organizational culture, which are the norms and values that shape how the firm operates and how employees behave. This is primarily shaped by senior management as well as the norms and values of society. Each firm can have multiple subcultures, and the extent to which people fit within a culture at a firm is key in determining whether they stay or leave. Cultural clashes can occur when subcultures do not fit with one another. This can occur for a few reasons, such as a low cultural quotient from employees, which means that they aren't able to understand other cultures or adapt, conflicting leadership styles among management, poor communication, or mergers and acquisitions, when the target firm has a different culture to the acquirer. Unit 2.6 is a new topic for this syllabus, which focuses on communication. This communication can include formal methods of communication, which are official communications, or informal methods of communication. Formal communication might include meetings, emails, and presentations, while informal communication can include gossip, small talk, and social media. Much like firms, you as students engage with a combination of formal communication, such as emailing your teachers, as well as informal communication, such as your daily interactions in the classroom. Unit 2.7 is an HL-only topic, so SL students, you can skip to the next section. This topic focuses on the sources of conflict in the workplace and how they can be resolved. Conflict can occur for any number of reasons in a firm, including power imbalances and differing needs and wants among stakeholders. If conflict between management and employees is not quickly solved, both sides can take steps to escalate this conflict to put pressure on the other side. Employees have 3 ways to do this. The first is collective bargaining, which is a process where representatives of both sides get together to discuss the causes of the conflict. Here, the goal is to quickly resolve the conflict. Here, employees are given a collective voice to explain their concerns, but this method doesn't put much pressure on senior management compared to other methods. To escalate a conflict, employees can employ work to rule, which involves doing the bare minimum as required in their contract. For example, an employee whose contract says that their day ends at 5:30 p.m. would not respond to a client email after these hours, even if it were important. This starts to have an impact on business operations and therefore can put some more pressure on senior management. However, it can also further strain employee-employer relationships and requires the buy-in of all employees at the firm for it to really work. In the most extreme case, employees can strike, which is where they don't show up to work in protest. This prevents the organization from continuing to operate, causing major disruption and pressuring senior management. However, employees are also not paid during this process, making it high risk, high reward. On the flip side, employers have 4 approaches. The first is collective bargaining, which is the same process as I outlined earlier. The second is to threaten redundancies, which are used to threaten employees into cooperating with management. This allows employees to leave the firm if they don't wish to cooperate, but can also contribute to negative staff morale and instability within the firm. The third method is change in contract, which involves new conditions in the contract of employees causing unrest. This can change the behavior of the employee, but it is also viewed as an unethical way to deal with the conflict. The most extreme method is called a closure or a lockout, where management decides to shut the business for a period of time. Here, employees are not paid and are therefore pressured to come back to the negotiating table, but the business also makes no revenue during this time. Businesses need to assess how a lockout impacts other stakeholders as well, such as customers. Eventually, all conflicts will have a resolution, and there are 4 methods that can be taken to solve these employer-employee conflicts. The first is conciliation and arbitration, which involves the use of an independent third party who listens to the concerns of both sides. This allows for an unbiased actor to provide their recommendations, but can be a time-consuming and expensive process. The process of conciliation and arbitration is the same. The key difference is in conciliation, the recommendations from the third party are only recommendations, and in arbitration, the recommendations from the third party are legally binding, meaning both the business and the employees have to follow through with them. The next one is industrial democracy, also referred to as employee participation, which lets employees become more involved in decision making. This can potentially improve their motivation, but also slow decision making. The third is a single union agreement, where employees and management agree that one trade union will represent all of the employees in the collective bargaining process. This simplifies the process, which can make it quicker, but practically speaking, it is very difficult for one union to represent the interests of all of the employees at the firm. Finally, a no-strike agreement is when a union agrees not to strike for a period of time following concessions from management. This improves stability and predictability for everyone, but employees do lose a lot of power when they give up the right to strike. If you've made it this far, congratulations, the content part of this video is over. A quick word on exam strategy related to this unit. This is a very qualitative heavy unit, meaning it is more likely to come up in your paper 1 or section B of your paper 2. In Unit 2, historically Unit 2.2 and Unit 2.4, alongside for HL students, Unit 2.7, are the most commonly tested concepts on the exam. If you have to prioritize, we would recommend you become familiar with these concepts and these topics in the most depth, with a specific focus on the organizational structures, motivation theories, and financial and non-financial rewards, as well as for HL students, conflict resolution. At this point, you might be wondering, what's next in my studying? Take a moment to reflect on whether you are comfortable with all of these topics and concepts. If the answer is no, you can find more detailed versions of every topic and every key concept under the review video section of our website, diplomaly.org. The next step is to practice specific concepts in this video. For this, head over to the case study section, which allows you to practice these concepts by the individual topics, full units, or the whole BM syllabus. You can also try a full-length mock exam to put into practice concepts from across the entire BM syllabus. Be sure to review each of your responses, not just against the mark scheme, but the full-length exemplar responses that we have provided for you, which represents a response from a student who would score full or near full marks. If at any point you are unsure how to respond to a question, check out the response structure section of our website, which helps you understand how to answer every type of question you will run into in BM according to the number of marks and command term. We hope this video was useful for you in your studying for business management. If you're looking for additional help with BM, which relates to any part of the course, please feel free to reach out to us via email at info@diplomaly.org or via WhatsApp. If this video was useful for you, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching, and best of luck with your exam prep.